this as well. Okay. So now is the official beginning. Okay, good evening, everybody. So when I got to my office right now, somebody emailed me that they had a personal mazel tov, and they told me that this class really has been a blessing for them, even though they have not been on it live. They've heard all the classes, really been helpful. So I can tell you, as I mentioned yesterday, it's been a blessing for me as well, and hopefully for most. And the reason really is because thinking about Bitachon, focusing on Bitachon really aligns us to keep our priorities straight. I heard, I saw somebody email me. Rabbi Yaakov Hillel is a Makubal, as a Rosh Hashiva in Yerushalayim. He is a Baghdadi Jew, originally born in Bombay, India, but raised in England, went to Gates of Yeshiva, and he's a very big Makubal Kabbalist, went to Oxford as well, speaks a perfect English. And he said the following amazing thing. He said that as we come into Rosh Chodesh Nisan, as we get closer to Pesach, he says, if you look at what COVID-19 has done, it's literally like all of the Makkos, like all the 10 plagues. Because what was the main thing of the 10 plagues? The Aseret Makkos, what it really did to Mitzrayim is it broke down all of their gods. The Nile turned to blood. Everything that they thought, that they put their hope in and their faith in, everything they were so confident would be there for them at all times, literally all of those type of things were all of their ideologies and fake gods and fake ideas were annihilated during the 10 plagues. Not only were they punished, but it was a debunking of all of that the Egyptians had put their faith in their lives. Now, remember, Egypt was the superpower, the superpower of the world at that time. And he noted that today also that so many of the things that people put their faith in, their beliefs in, has really crumbled the past 2 weeks. And yet at the same time, you have more and more people who are connecting to Torah and Tefillah. In fact, it's actually an amazing thing that Torah and mitzvahs, even though communally, as I spoke of the first class, has changed radically, many people have been able to connect to Hashem, as I mentioned, in a much deeper way than ever before, because they're forced. And I was actually shocked. One of the senior sages of America, Rabbi Elia Bruni, he's Rosh Hashiva near Brooklyn. I've been in his house more than once, had conversations, very close to my wife's family, and really an ish emes, a person of truth, a very, very big Talmud Chacham. And they send me every month his monthly shiur that he gives in Brooklyn, New York. And I didn't listen to it. I didn't have the time, but I briefly scanned the notes, and I noticed he said the following thing, which really, if he can say it, and if I say it's one thing, if he says it's radically different. He said, he's about internalizing our situation, and he noted that will we internalize what this situation is? I'm just gonna, I'll cut off the Yiddish for everybody. Will we internalize that tefillah does not mean that we daven or we don't? Do we do it? Did I daven? Did I not daven? Did I bench? Did I not bench? He says, does it mean that we run into shul, daven, and leave? At home, there's nothing to chap. Chap means to just take advantage of it really quickly. Either we daven or we don't. We're in our house. There's no minyan. There's nobody else. There's no friends. There's no, I admire the women's section in Echad. They all kiss each other and they hug each other. No one hugs and kisses you when you walk in to your living room. We should be davening in a makom kavod, and we should, in our houses, we should have one place where we daven and not be jumping around. So when we go to our set place to daven, no one's hugging, can see us. There's nobody there. At home, there's nothing to cop. Either we daven or we don't. And then he said the following thing. I'm just reading the transcript. I'm saying things that I did not realize a week ago. He's talking about himself, Rabbi Bruni. I am one of you, but I have learned the hard way. Living at home is, for so many days, I discovered that even outside of the Yom HaNorayim, the high holidays, there's such a thing as a real davening to Hashem. Not to be Yotze, but with patience it is the most important part of the day. And then there is the gift of studying Torah, but on an aesthetic-free phone without a chavrusa at our side. It's not easy, but if we learn how to do it, it is a gift that remains with us and carry over to a post-corona world. That there's something that's unique, something which in normal times, at least certainly for men, would be forbidden to skip minyan. And I would say for the vast majority of ladies, would gain more by going to shul only on Shabbos or when they can. There's something we would gain more. But now everything, like the world has changed, our service of God changed. And as I started in the beginning, the Bitachon is if Hashem puts us in the situation, this is a situation we're supposed to be in, that we're supposed to serve Him joyfully in the situation and take advantage. And there's so much things that even Rabbi Bruni, Shlitza, can gain from his davening prayer. Certainly we could. I didn't say this story, but I've seen it being passed around. I actually said this in a drasha a few years ago, but it's apropos here. There's a famous story that two of the early Hasidic masters were Noam Elimelech of Lezhinsk, and Zusha Anapoli was his brother. They were from the two biggest Polish Hasidic masters who spread the Hasidic movement around Poland. The Noam Elimelech even showed a film about a few years ago on the show, and we repeated it last year with Hanoch Teller. And they were once traveling in Poland, and they got caught on a border town, and they were accused of taking things with them they were not allowed to take across the border, and they got thrown into jail. And while they were in jail, they looked at their cell. This was not like California jails. They had a pot, and the pot was filled with things you cannot pray in front of, filled with manure and dung, human excrement. And one of the Rebbes started to cry, and he said, "We can't. As long as we're here, they're going to be there for days, if not weeks. We can't pray. We're in this cell, sitting there with this disgusting stuff. But worse than being with all these disgusting things, that we can't pray. It's against Jewish law. It's against halacha to pray in the cell." And so the other one said, I think Zusha said to Noam Elimelech, said, Rabbi, his brother, so what are you talking about? If Hashem put us here, then our service is to serve Hashem joyfully. To serve Hashem joyfully. And when Noam Elimelech heard that, he said, "You're right." And then he started to dance. Both Elimelech Lezhinsk and the Zeus of Alan Pali were so excited that this is what Hashem wants from them. They started to dance, and they started to dance around this pot, this filled with the most disgusting things. And they're dancing around, Baruch Hashem, we're serving it, and they're dancing like Hasidim can dance with such joy, and they're going crazy dancing around this potty. And the warden comes into the says, "What are you Meshugayim?" He didn't speak Yiddish. "What are you Jews doing? What are you crazy people doing?" He said, "We're dancing. We're so happy to be here. We're so happy to serve God this way." And the warden couldn't figure out. He went out for a few minutes. He came back and he said, "You know what? You guys are out of here. Get out of here." And then they danced again. Now they can pray. And what's amazing is when I see Rabbi Bruni say this, and I said this myself, that I personally have benefited because I know that Hashem wants me and you and everyone who's listening and everyone who's not listening, that this is a message not only for the world, and it's a serious thing, which I'll get to shortly, but very serious. But it's also the breaking of all of the stupidities of life, and in that, even though we're stuck at home, and we have a lot of one of my little kids today, I couldn't believe it. One of my little Pitzlach kids, one of my little kids told me, "I can't wait for this corona to be over. I'm getting a headache from it." Kids, my son Shlomo Eliezer is 5 years old. I couldn't believe he said that. We at some level there's a headache that comes from it, but there's an opportunity in it. Abba Ibn, when talking about the Palestinians, noted they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity, and Yidden grab opportunities. This is a limited time offer. Please God, this will end very soon, and I can assure you I'll be the first knocking on people's doors. Get to Minyan, get to Shul. It's the best place for you. I will no longer hopefully be in Zoom. We'll be meeting in person. Perhaps I won't even be doing Bitachon anymore. But this limited opportunity, we're not even dancing on a party. We should be dancing for the opportunity to have. This is what Hashem wants from us. Now, when that person emailed me 20 minutes ago that this class has been a blessing, really the blessing really is to keep in mind what the journey, what the opportunity of the day is, what we're supposed to be focusing on. And the only way that we can really keep that in mind and keep focus is through Bitachon, is through true, keep knowing that everything comes from Hashem. And when we're stuck in certain situations, that's where Hashem wants to be. And we can gain and glean so much from it. I'm going to do a paragraph of the Sefer, and then I want to talk about tomorrow, which I think is very much connected. The Bais HaLevi Soloveitchik, so he brings down the next thing that people put their faith in is refuah, is health. Now remember, when we talk about Bitachon, if a person doesn't go to a doctor, not just a doctor, the best doctor possible, they're a shaita, they're full. I mean, God forbid a person's in a challenging situation, they should look for the best medical care. We should follow anyone you see. And unfortunately, I saw, the same news as anyone else did. In certain communities, some people were not as careful. They think that they don't have to be careful. They're fools. I mean, it's like jumping off a bridge. You don't put yourself in a dangerous situation. But even when you go to the best medical care and the best doctors, we don't place our faith in doctors as the Bais HaLevi. We put our faith totally in Hashem. I remember there was a lady in my hometown of Miami Beach who was the epitome of health. A woman who exercised daily, a woman who ate only the most healthy foods. And anyone would talk about her, she'll never get sick. And lo and behold, she, at a very young age, a relatively young age, I don't want to insult anyone on this call, got cancer. And, you can do whatever you want. You can eat the most healthy foods. You can go to the best doctors, can make mistakes. Ultimately, put our faith in Hashem. That's really what the Bais HaLevi says. There's mistakes, all kinds of mistakes that happen in hospitals. I've had conversations with doctors. I remember there was a person from my block who was a classmate of mine who went to medical school that was doing the residency, and they were treating all kinds of patients. I said, "How are you doing?" They said, the person told me they have no idea what they're doing. They're at least honest. I mean, they're very often, there's hubris by doctors, all kind of mistakes that a doctor can make, some because of gaiva, of arrogance, and some just human error. There's fallibility. And there's all kinds of curves, says the Bais HaLevi. They'll die shin of. Sometimes they even mess up for you, but makalkaloid. The imkain, I mean, there are people that I've been in the hospital that they got secondary infections, that there are mistakes that have been made, the wrong antibiotics were given, etc. When you say Yitzchak, how do you put in your faith, your confidence? You're gonna put, that's where you put your faith in. That's where you put your faith in. That you put your faith in this or not. And listen to what the Bais HaLevi says. Where's your shame? Where's your sense of embarrassment? 3 times a day. In the beginning of Shmonas, right? You say you sustain everyone with chesed. You give your smicha, you give strength to those who fall. And that God heals the sick. God is the Reifa Cholim. But when you go to the doctor, you think I'm at the hands of the doctor. Again, doesn't mean you shouldn't do the best medical care possible. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take care of your body. That we'll get to that as well. But Hashem created a world where our obligation is to live in the world of nature and to follow that. But our faith is not in that. Our faith is in the Creator of the world who constantly sustains the world and who heals the sick. And there are people who are so worried about the medical care and the best doctors, and they forget about Hashem. They'll forget about the Rebbeinu Shalom. They'll totally, they'll wash their hands. They're gonna you're going to be quarantined. They'll do everything they have to do. But where's the emotion? Where's a Kadosh Baruch Hu fit into this? You see this, by the way, I see people all the time in their careers. They believe that it's all up to them. And they're religious Jews. I think I said this story once in the drasha. Somebody went over to my Rabbi, Rabbi Salman, Mashgiach HaLevi, and he said, there's a guy in his shul who is in business, and the person is a cheat, really a bum. He looks at business as a warfare, and he's really dishonest in business. And yet, when you watch him pray, he prays pretty seriously. How could it be? If he really believes in God, he would be honest in business. So Mashgiach said to him, he says, you don't understand. This guy believes that business is up to him. What is he really praying? He says, please, God, don't stop me. Right? If you let me do my business, I'll be successful. But even his prayer, it's not that he totally believes in God. If he totally believes in God, he'd be honest in business. Yeah, if person totally believes, he would be honest in business. So the person prays. It's a prayer like, God, I'm the smartest. I'm the best. But just don't mess me up. And a person can look for all kinds of medical care. Forget about Kadosh Baruch Hu. To me, anyone who's in quarantine, anyone who's being careful washing their hands, and their prayer has not improved, is like the Bais says. It's, where is your emunah? Hashem is Rofei Chaylim. Hashem is the one who's going to watch out for you. Do you think that if you try everything in the world, you're safe from this COVID-19? It's not true. In 1 second, from one piece of mail, you clean this mail, you had this package, you walked out 1 second, you went to the supermarket. Do you think that without Hashem, you're going to be protected? This is the biggest proof that we need a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And if for a person to be in quarantine or a person to be like most of us are in shelter in place, there are people, by the way, not who are listening to this who are in quarantine, not in San Jose. But there are people in shelter in place or sitting and not going out, and you forget about Hashem. Hashem is Rofei Chaylim. Hashem is giving the cure. And that really, says the Bais HaLevi, below nikma ze belibo. Ad sheyagia leida is a pratim. Shochech hakol. They're totally about Hashem. They're so worried and they're home all day and they're doing everything. Their davening goes down. How is that shayach? How is that possible? How is that feasible? I know how it's possible because they really don't believe. They really don't believe that it all comes from Hashem. And they do believe that if I'm careful, that's all my salvation be. Rak achar shtal galusa chalila. Zok the Bais HaLevi, says the Bais HaLevi, chalila, God forbid. If the person has this attitude and mentality that they're going to be careful to go to doctors or to shelter in place and forget about Hashem, and they can say Shemona Esrei, and they're religious Jews, they're good people, by the way. But at some level, it says that the Navi, as the prophet Yeshaya, Isaiah said, "Bepiv," with their mouth, ubesfasa, with their words, kibdune, they say, God, we believe in you. You heal the sick. V'libam rachok mimeni, but their hearts are really distant. Means that they can say, God, the prayer, but their hearts are really distant. Tomorrow is a Yom Tefillah. A lot of this class, it's for myself and for those who are listening, it's about perspective. And I've been stressing things that we should be gaining on a personal, individual level, as well as the gift of Bitachon, the gift of realizing everything comes from God. And because everything comes from God, there will be a cure, and that we should have serenity. But I don't want to underestimate, and I think when we come to Yom Tefillah, a day of prayer, it's certainly very important, the acute danger of this. I mentioned that tomorrow a cure could be, not tonight, but on previous shiurim, tomorrow there could be a cure. Because it came it can leave suddenly. But you can also look at the news, and I've mentioned about not panicking. But if you want to read the news and get panicked, there's something to that. And not that you should do that, but there's something to realize the danger is acute. There have been religious and Jews have been Holocaust survivors who are mostly 90% of them are elderly, and everyone is an eternal loss for us. But there is a real danger here. The Brisker Rav, Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik, who was the grandson of the Bais HaLevi, he was the Rav of Brisk when the Holocaust started. He was from the greatest ages of Europe, pre-World War II Europe. He would escape to Israel and pass away, I believe, in 1959. So the Brisker Rav when the Holocaust started was in Warsaw, and he would escape to Vilna. From Vilna, he would eventually get to Eretz Yisrael in 1940 or 41. Amazingly, he went through much territory with the Nazis, getting from Warsaw to Vilna, and he followed the words of his ancestors the whole time. He thought to himself, everything comes from God. He was so great that his son, Beryl Soloveitchik, said over, there was at one point, they were stopped by Nazis, and he saw Beryl's watch. Beryl had a gold watch, which the old custom in Europe was that a chassan, a groom, got a gold watch. And Beryl Soloveitchik, Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik from Jerusalem, headed the Brisker Yeshiva in Jerusalem for many years. The Nazis, give me your watch. He got a gun, gave the Nazi his watch. This is in October 1939, or maybe late September 1939. Gives him his watch, and then the Brisker Rav got off the carriage because they were getting off the carriage, and he saw the Brisker Rav, and Brisker was calm and cool and collected, and he says, "This is like an angel." He gave the Beryl back his watch and said, "Get out of here," and they left. And the Brisker Rav was at a tremendously high level of bitachon. He lived on a different plane, and he lived at this level of oinam avad, which is not any of our level, to be quite frank. But what's amazing is, and this is what we should all strive for, the Brisker Rav, the whole way, for his sons and children said this over many times, that the whole way from Warsaw to Vilna, the Brisker Rav kept telling his children, the Nazis are coming, do you understand the danger we're in? And a few times his children said to him, like, Dad, Tata, we're nervous enough. What are you telling us more how dangerous the situation is? The Brisker Rav said, no, you should realize the danger. Not to realize the danger is to be a shaita, a fool, or is to be completely oblivious. But you should realize the danger and then put your bitachon b'Hashem. And then put your faith in Hashem. It's not to say, okay, bitachon means I'll be an ostrich and imagine there's no danger. Bitachon means to fully grasp the danger and then cry out to Hashem. And tomorrow really is exactly that. It's a Yom Tefillah. Bitachon really means that if everything comes from Hashem, then the salvation will come from Hashem. We know that it's amazing. The timing of everything right now happens to be amazing. It's for between Purim and Pesach. And as we come closer to Pesach, the Torah tells us in Parsha Shmos that what was the cause of the salvation of the Jewish people? Paro dies. And when Paro dies, they imagined that they would be saved, or the torture and the pressures and the afflictions would go down. The king of Egypt died, and then and they start to sigh from the avoda. Why do they sigh? So Rashi quotes that actually the new Paro, or the new Paro 2.0 of the original Paro, actually afflicted them more. And when it's at that point when they literally realized they had no hope and no salvation but for God, they cried out to God, Vital Shava Sa'am, and their pleas went to Elokim and Havaydah. It came from their service, and that is the turning point for the Jewish people in its time. The next pasuk, which is juxtaposed, says, "Vayishma Elokim es nakasam." God heard their moans. Vayizkor Elokim es briso, and you remember the covenant with Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. What changed everything? It was when they cried out, when they directed their tefillah to Hashem. Because real bitachon is to realize, yeah, there's a danger, but the salvation actually comes from Hashem. That Rabbi Avram Pan, or Shiva Torah Vadas, so he points out, quotes a Kabbalistic sefer called Zechus Avram, who says that in any tzara that would happen in Egypt is whenever we're in danger, whenever we're challenged, is the most important time to pray to God. It's literally the time where our prayers are most auspicious. It quotes the Zechus Adam is quoted really a Zohar, and the Zohar says anytime a person's in that situation, their tefillahs are different and they're better. Actually, the Zohar quotes it from a pasuk, Tefillah la'ani, this is from Tehillim Kuf Bais, Tefillah la'ani ki yatov l'fnei Hashem yishpach sicho. A prayer of the afflicted man when he's fainting, and in front of Hashem, he pours out his supplications, which means that when we realize that our salvation, our Yeshua, for us to get out of the jail cell, and we are in a jail cell, we may be dancing around the party, maybe we'll gain from it, but it's not a good situation for many, many people on many, many, many levels, and the danger is real. But the ultimate way that we'll be matzliach is when we realize where our prayers are real. Roifei cholim is Hashem. Hashem will give the scientific solution. It won't come from Johns Hopkins or from Technion for those who are cheering for Israel, or from Stanford, or from even University of Pennsylvania. The salvation will come from Hashem. When Hashem gives the salvation, then the scientists will figure it out, or the epidemic will stop. But really, to believe in Hashem and to have true bitachon means to believe that tomorrow our prayers make a difference. That, and quite frankly, some people have told me, they say, tell them, oh, they can't make it. If you can't make it, fine. But we should be praying more tomorrow, not just because we believe in Hashem, because the greatest sages in Islam and America did it also. And we should believe that if they're telling us to pray harder, that we should pray harder. So bitachon really is not just lip service, and it really is an opportunity for us all to hear. We have in Northern California largely been spared people that we know, and Al Tiftach Peh should continue that way. Mitzvah Hashem, we've had a lot of blessing that in our own community, we have not seen it per se, although many of our fellow citizens and people around us clearly are suffering from it. But we're all affected by it. And Achinu B'nai Yisrael, there are all kinds of Jews around the world suffering. So Tachan says tomorrow and tonight, really, as we come into it, as much as we're supposed to be gaining, like Rabbi Bruni, like me and you, praying better, doing more, it also means to realize that our situation is really challenging and really dangerous. And if our situation is really challenging and really dangerous, there is only one source. There's only one thing that we should really be doing, and putting really one area that we should really be putting our faith in, and that is Hashem, who is Roifei cholim. And as much, anytime, I said this on Shabbos a couple of weeks ago, right before the show closed down, I quoted that Rabbi Moss, that when you wash your hands, you should remember whose hands were really in, and that's Hashem's hands. And that feeling after any concern and after any fear, and we put that feeling and we cry out to Hashem, the greatest comfort is to know that our Father in heaven hears our tefillahs and will definitely 100% answer our tefillahs. We may not see it right away, but every person who prays tomorrow, their tefillahs will be answered. Their tefillahs will have an effect. So I encourage everybody to take part in the Yom Tefillah tomorrow, whether you join us on the phone call. If you can't do that, on your own level, to cry out to Hashem, who hears our tefillahs, and that itself is the biggest nachama, is the biggest comfort, that we have that ability, okay? Tomorrow night, the Shiur will be on Pesach. So this class on Bitachon will not take place. Hashem, this will resume on Thursday night. Okay, everybody, have a great night.
You too.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. You all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey.
Good night.
Good night.
How do I get out?
I'll help you.